Hello, elephants, and welcome. Stefan and Alessandro here, and today we bring you forward a new tiny series in Minecraft that we're doing, where we're basically gonna try to explain what command blocks are and how you can use them to basically fulfill your creative thoughts in Minecraft. So, with that said, we can get straight into it. I just want to note one more thing actually before we begin, and that is that you do not need to know commands for this video. We're just focusing on what the command block itself is and how you can use it. So you don't really need commands, and don't be scared. Hopefully this video will be really friendly. So with that said, let's begin with the command block. What is it exactly? And Stefan's gonna tell us. Go for it.
Okay, so you might be wondering, why in the world should I use a command block if I can run commands through my chat? So I will run the say command and you'll see what happens. The say command just prints something to the screen. And as you can see, my name is displayed next to it. And if Alessandro runs that exact command, it will have his name next to it. So this means commands have ownership. So let's take a look at this command block that Alessandro and I set up. As you see, it has the same command we just run. So now, let's run it and see what happens. As you see, it doesn't have a name. It just has the @ symbol, which means there's no owner for that command. And this is pretty important because this allows us to run commands without actually executing them ourselves. We can let the command block handle that, and the players can activate these commands with buttons or other types of input. So now, let's take a look at the 3 different types of command blocks, as you can see here. And before we start explaining this, Alessandro and I thought of a simple and kind of funny analogy to explain the command blocks, which basically is about eating. So the redstone could be the food, and the command blocks are the people eating the food. Okay, that's the basic analogy we thought of. So if you want, Alessandro, you can explain.
Okay, so basically, yeah, just think of the redstone block as food, and then the different command blocks types are different type of people. And now I know it might look scary, but honestly, it's really easy and self-explanatory once you know what each of them do. So the first one is called the impulse command. This is the very proper child. No matter how much food you give this guy, he is proper. So he will only eat once per meal. Basically, what that's saying is if I power this command block with redstone, it will only run once. So for example, if I run this, as you can see, the redstone block stayed there. So the meal was still in action, but he only ate once. And he will only eat once every time we do a meal, as you can see here. So that's basically what the impulse command does. Now over here, we got the chain command, which is this greenish blue guy. Now this is the kid that is scared to do things on his own. So he will copy everyone else. And not actually everyone else, just the person behind him. So in this case, he's so insecure about himself that he won't eat unless the one behind him is eating. And that's why this guy is pointing into this. So it's kind of like a connection. That's why this one's called the chain command, because it's chained to the command on its back. So basically what this does is that if I feed the impulse command, then this one will eat as well. It will get powered as soon as this one gets powered. So we can see that over here. As you can see, the impulse command says, I am eating. And immediately the chain command, exactly at the same moment, as you can say, he says, I am eating because he's eating. And this is what's so powerful about the chain command, because it will execute at the same tick as its parent command, but yet it executes in order. So the one pointing to the chain command executes first, and then the chain commands execute. But it's all in the same tick, which is super useful because you can execute a bunch of commands all at the same time, thanks to the chain command. And lastly, we got the repeat block, which is basically like a really fat kid in all intents and purposes in a nice way. He just can't stop eating. If there's food on his plate, he's gonna eat the crap out of it, okay? He's just gonna take it all. So basically what that means is if we power this command block, it's just gonna run every tick, so every like moment that the game updates, is just gonna execute itself, whatever the contents are. So we can see this here. While the redstone is on top, the command block was eating. So this is a very chubby command block. So those are the 3 different types. Now let's go look at some of the actual things that you can do with them with some examples.
Okay, so welcome to the lab that Alessandro and I built. We have some simple tests where we will be showing the functionality of the impulse command, the chain command block, and the repeat block command thingy. So let's get started. For example, here, as you can see, we got an impulse command. Impulse commands are very straightforward and normally are used with redstone. In this case, we're using it with a pressure plate. So that command will execute if we're standing in the pressure plate. In this case, we've made a teleporter that will teleport us to a very fancy place next to it. As you can see, it's fully functional. So next, we have the chain commands. So as Ale mentioned before, you can make this chain as big as you want, as long as each command is pointing to the next. And a very important thing is the first command in the chain has to be an impulse or a repeat command block. Okay, so what does this chain do? The orange one, the impulse command block, will print its adventure time. And the next 3 commands, the next 3 chains, will give the player an item, a tool in this case, for the adventure or whatever you want. So let's run this command. Okay, and it prints adventure time and it gives us the tools. Lastly, we have the repeat command block, which is very, very powerful. This lets us check every time the game updates, it lets us check something or it executes the command. In this case, we have a command that is checking every moment if a player is standing on top of this red block. And this has no limits again. We could even put this chain of commands connected to the repeat command block and they will execute only when I step on top of the red concrete block. So let's take a look. As you see, Alessandro stepped in the block and he got the power. Simple. So this is very, very powerful command because it runs every tick, as we call it in Minecraft. And it's normally used how we used it here, like checking for a condition, and if it's met, you execute something.
So yeah, those are some very simple examples. Like this is as simple as it can get. You can chain chain command blocks, by suggested by the name, 2 repeater blocks, and then as soon as something is true, you could execute the entire thing. So you can have very complex interactions between the different commands, and you can basically make magic, which is why we think that command blocks are so powerful and why you should learn what they are. So with that, I think we are concluding the first episode of this mini series of what command blocks are, and we hope that you join us on the next video where we explain a little bit more of what all of these different settings are so that you can stop being scared of what all of these means. Oh, by the way, we completely forgot to mention, but this is the button you use to change between the different types of command blocks. So with that said, now you know what this button does, but what in the world do these 2 other buttons do? And so yeah, if you want to know what that does, just tune in next time and we'll know what's on the other side of these walls. So yeah, thank you for tuning in and I hope you have a great existence.